Isn't Black Lives Matter just a complete and utter farce of an organization? Oh, but if you hate Black Lives Matter, that means you hate black people. Well, you're retarded if you still believe that line, but whatever. I'm sure they're going to make their fucking reappearance in, 2 years' time? Whatever it is, probably around the summer of 2023. They'll probably pop their heads up again. That's basically all they're good for, but what are they doing right now that nobody's paying attention to them, and it's kind of an off year? We'll see what happens in the summer, though, because it seems like all hands are on deck because Democrats are realizing that 2022, the midterms here at the end of the year are looking pretty fucking dire, so maybe they'll place some phone calls, but it looks like these idiots are busy, especially on the phones, calling up the jail to make sure that Jussie Smollett be freed, because you can't trust any cops that are out there, and just like the family members of Smollett, you might be able to see it just off to the side there. According to Jussie's brother, who, again, I think that Jussie Smollett has convinced himself that he was a victim of a hate crime that day. He has told himself so many lies so often, continued to repeat them over and over and over again. He believes his own bullshit, and it looks like it permeates his entire extended, ridiculous family. There's absolutely no evidence of a hoax. Unfortunately, there's also no evidence of an actual hate crime being committed against your lying fruit of a brother. Sucks to suck, but hey, you can go ahead and you can harass, state employees. See how well that works out for you. Black Lives Matter co-founder and trained Marxist and a beautiful woman, Patrisse Cullors, who resigned from Black Lives Matter amid controversy about her multiple homes that she owns, even though she wants everybody else to just come together and band together with their wealth, and nobody will own anything, and they'll all be happy, except for her, because she has a daughter to raise, unfortunately. Says she has just visited hate crime hoaxer and disgraced actor Jussie Smollett in jail, where she found that he has been sleeping in a restraint bed. Well, that's because he said, "I am not suicidal. I am not suicidal. You have to believe me. I am..." Okay, cool. This motherfucker's clearly crazy, so we're just gonna send him to the psych ward. Apparently he's out now, but fucking really care at this point. You got 69 nice more days in jail. I don't really care. Stop making a fucking scene about it, you weirdo. He's probably going to over the next 2 months, let's be fair. Which she called unacceptable. Why is that? Cullors is now urging the public to call the jail and demand that Smollett be freed, soliciting calls for harassment. This should go extremely well for you, private citizen. I'm in Chicago, and I'm able to see Jussie today. Are you visiting the South Side to make sure that every black life matters? No, of course not. And he's strong, but but what's happening inside is it's just unacceptable. Yeah, people who have committed crimes and been convicted of said crimes are being held in order to pay restitution to society. Yeah, that's very unacceptable for a group that just wants the abolition of all prisons for all people, regardless of whatever heinous crimes you commit. They're very principled people. Today is the first day that he's going to be able to get in an actual bed. Well, if he doesn't continue to fucking complain about literally everything, he might have a shot and an opportunity to be in a regular bed and just fucking do his time and then just get on with his fucking lying life. He's been sleeping on a restraint bed. What, upright or upside down on his side? Like, what do you mean by restraint bed? They've also filed for him to be released. Yeah, okay. Filed to the appellate court. Yeah, I'm sure they'll get to that in a timely fashion. The activist continued. Hopefully, we'll learn by this week. No later than Wednesday if he'll get out. Survey says he's still in jail. Listen, you continue to file these meddling fucking paperwork, and guess what? The judge might reconsider his jail time. Kick it up a couple of months. It's highly unlikely too, but it's also highly unlikely that he's going to be getting out early, especially with the amount of bad behavior that his associated parties are participating in. We need folks to call the jail and check up on him, but also to say he thinks that he should be freed. And the last thing is, we need folks to challenge the misinformation and disinformation around the case. That's so critical. Take your own advice, stupid. But what else is Black Lives Matter and their organization up to? Well, Black Lives Matter activist and husband charged with fraud What? No. Oh my God. You're telling me that there's some fraud going on at the Black Lives Matter organization? I can hardly believe it. An activist and her husband have been charged with fraud and conspiracy by federal officials after allegedly taking money meant for a nonprofit they funded and using it to pay for hotel rooms, car rentals, and dining out. Well, to be fair, if you're out there doing your activism, you gotta be well fed, and it looks like this bitch has not missed a meal in a long fucking time. Monica Cannon Grant, 41, and her husband, Clark Grant. Ew, she's 3 years older and didn't take his name. Sorry about that. We're charged in an 18-count indictment this week by the U.S. Attorney's Office of the District of Massachusetts. Oof. The couple used tens of thousands of dollars meant to be for charitable efforts such as feeding needy children. Well, to be fair, the people that were needy were fed, just not children, to pay for a vacation to Columbia, Maryland, groceries, Uber rides, car rentals, meals and restaurants, gas, automobile insurance, purchases from retailers such as Old Navy. That's Old Navy. Oh my God, that's a racist organization. We all know black people can't swim. Nail salons, hotel rooms, parking fees, and Walmart purchases, according to charging documents. The funds were donated to the organization Cannon Grant and Grant founded called Violence in Boston. And you need to advocate against violence in Boston, in Maryland. Okay. Among those donating funds were a Cambridge Black Lives Matter group and a department store, prosecutor said. Cool. One $10,000 donation came from the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. Suffolk County, yep, out there on Long Island. Should be shot. Rachel Rollins, now the U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, headed the office at the time. Huh, weird. I wonder if there's going to be a fair and impartial trial there. Additionally, Cannon Grant and Grant are alleged to have knowingly made a false statement and a report to obtain a mortgage loan by omitting income from their nonprofit. Cannon Grant and her husband, both of Taunton, must be in Mass, were each charged with wire fraud conspiracy, wire fraud, and making false statements to a mortgage lending business. They were just lying to Jews. That's not even really a crime now, is it, according to Black Lives Matter? Cannon Grant was also charged with mail fraud. Cool. Isn't that a Fed charge? Grant was already facing 2 federal charges, including wire fraud from 2021. So upstanding people, once again, upstanding people associated with Black Lives Matter. Who knew? Cannon Grant has described herself as a Black Lives Matter activist. The nonprofit she started with her husband says its mission is to improve the quality of life and life outcomes of individuals from underserved communities by reducing the prevalence of violence and the impact of associated trauma while addressing social injustice through advocacy and direct services. Oh my God, would you like some croutons for your word fucking salad? The nonprofit often promotes posts with Black Lives Matter hashtags on social media. Well, we know it's the group has been successful for at least affecting change in the life of 2 black people. Actually, to be fair, we don't even know what Clark Grant looks like. It's always a crapshoot with these folks. I'm so pro-black until you look at their better half. Look at every fucking member of the squad, except for Elon Omar, because relative genetics. Grant was working at an unnamed company from 2018 through 2021, starting as a laborer and eventually being promoted to track foreman, according to information reported on his tax returns. And how reliable are those? Cannon Grant, the lady, appeared, that's I guess what you'd call her, in court on Tuesday and is scheduled to appear again for an arraignment next week. She declined to speak to reporters outside the courtroom, but normally she would, whenever a microphone's in front of her face, she would more than be willing to talk to it. But no, it's just a bad look for the cause now, isn't it? We are extremely disappointed the government rushed to judgment here. Really? Robert Goldstein, an attorney representing her activist, said, VIB and Monica, Violence in Boston, right, have been fully cooperating, and their production of records remains ongoing. Drawing conclusions from an incomplete factual record does not represent the fair and fully informed process a citizen deserves from its government, especially someone like Monica, who has worked tirelessly on behalf of her community. We remain fully confident Monica will be vindicated when the complete factual record emerges. Well, okay, to be charged with something as complex as wire fraud and its associated findings as well. Conspiracy, wire fraud itself. That would lead me to believe that the district attorney's office extensively went through the records and found out that shit wasn't exactly on the up and up. So there's been an extensive look through the documents. What they turned up was a very, very obvious amount of fraud. Just saying. But hey, I guess you're speaking on behalf of your client, so you gotta be saying that type shit. But it's weird that Goldstein isn't representing her husband? Yeah, husband, right. Cannon's arraignment has not been scheduled. He was arrested last year, but is not being held. Once again, good old bail reform. Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. Violence in Boston, and the public defender representing Cannon didn't respond to a request for comment. Wow, he has a public defender, and she has Robert Goldstein. Okay. Nonprofit shared posts on Twitter claiming the idea Cannon Grant started it to enrich herself just doesn't make sense. Yeah, because we haven't seen a dime of the money that's been raised. Might be a problem. Even if she pocketed all the money the organization brought in, she would not be wealthy enough to make up for the constant harassment and threats. Listen, okay, so she might have stole a lot of money, but in fact, she puts up with a lot of shit because weirdos be on Twitter, regardless, and she... Very, very funny. Fraud would find an easier way to make money. No, using Black Lives Matter as a front, especially post summer of 2020, is a fairly fucking easy grift, and this is just the latest in a long line of grifters when it comes to the BLM legacy. So once again, if you continue to support these hacks, you get what you pay for, and what you get for it, or what you get in return is somebody else getting a Red Lobster dinner. So whatever, I guess. Hopefully they're there for a shrimp fest. With that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. Why don't you follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.